Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to go over how to reverse the reversible safety on your BR series firearm. Starting off, you are going to need a couple tools. Those tools are going to be T8 Torx wrenches and a 16th inch hex wrench. So if you have a vise, I would highly recommend that because this is a little bit tricky if you don't have extra set of hands around, but I'm not going to use a vise today because not all of you do. So I'm going to show you, you can do this at home. So if you do have a vise, a magazine inserted into the magazine well and snug down in that vise lightly is actually going to be a really good way to go. But the nice thing about the BR series firearms is since they do have this shorter magazine well, they actually stand up pretty nicely. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with the T8 screws. And the T8 screws are going to be the screws that are going to be holding in the trigger pin. So you're going to have a T8 on one side, which I typically just kind of hold in place. And then you're going to have the T8 on the other side that you're going to start to loosen. Once you have those loose, I typically just go ahead and hold one side with my finger while I just go ahead and take out the other screw on the other side. So I'm not going to bother you with watching all of that removal. I think you guys might know how a screw gets removed. Now keep in mind, this isn't the biggest of screws. So once you have that out, just set it aside in a nice safe place. And then from there, you can go ahead and just give yourself a little push on that hammer pin and pull it the rest of the way out and set aside. From there, we're going to go ahead and insert the 16th inch hex wrench, and we are going to loosen the set screw on top of the safety, and that is located right there. So bear in mind, underneath this, there is a spring and detent, so be mindful of that because you don't need anything like that finding low Earth orbit. And when I said they are small parts, I am going to try to keep this on the wrench if I can. You're going to see that is a small little set screw. Set that somewhere where you won't lose it. What I typically do at this point is I take and I turn the receiver upside down and I actually just give it a couple whacks against the table to hopefully unlodge the spring and detent. And there they both came. So like I said, these pieces are small, especially that little ball bearing detent. You do not want to lose that little guy. Set that aside. Now you can go ahead and, as you can see, remove the safety. It's already wanting to come out because there's nothing holding it into place. All you have to do is take and remove it and then flip it around 180 degrees and then reinstall. Since that's how easy that part of it is, the following instructions are going to be the same if you had flipped that around to be for lefty or not. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it back in the way I took it out. Now you'll notice that there are little detent spaces on the top of the safety, and that is so that it can engage in either direction. So going ahead and installing this, keeping in mind the detents need to be facing up and this cutout needs to be facing down. We will go ahead and reinsert the safety, trying to keep it aligned down through that hole. So I'm actually kind of looking straight down through here with an alignment. Now comes the fun part. Depending on the size of your hands, you need to get that little ball bearing down in that hole. Once you have that, you're going to follow it up with the spring. And now we're going to follow it up with the set screw. I apologize for my fingers being in the way. It is a small set screw. You have to get it aligned in there just right. Make sure you be careful. Be careful not to do any type of cross threading. So you can kind of feel the detents going into place there. And once you have that detent in place, I'm just going to go ahead and off camera where I can put a little bit more leverage on it, snug this down some. All right, now you can see I've pretty much got that flush down. When you have this installed, just snug it. You don't need to use any type of thread lock or anything. It's literally just holding the detent in place. You don't have to over torque it. Snug it, make sure it's rebated past the surface so you don't have any interference. Now we're going to take and reinstall the trigger pin I'm going to see if I can do this so you can see what I'm doing. There is a hole in the trigger that you're not going to be able to see that you need to finagle and align with the hole in the side of the lower receiver. So looking straight down at it, I can see that that looks to be pretty closely aligned and it wants to go right in. And as luck would have it, it went all the way through to the other side. So I had everything nicely aligned. Once you have that, you can go ahead and take your little T8 screw and start to thread it in by hand on this side. From there, you can take, again, I'm just holding this on the right side with my finger just to keep it from spinning while I'm doing this. Now that that's pretty close to snug, we can literally hold the screw on this side while snugging on this side. Doesn't take a lot of force. These are small screws. And there you have successfully changed out the safety on your BR series rifle. So guys, I hope that answered that question for you. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, stay safe out there.